Hi, everyone. Welcome to Open Chat. My name is Hua Ying, and I am the moderator for today's session. So Open Chat is a brand new series of conversations where we invite members from the Open Door community to share with us their views and interesting trends that are happening within their various fields of expertise. Today, for the very first Open Chat series, we have Kannan Chandran. And Kannan is actually a media entrepreneur, and he's also the founder of stormasia.com. In fact, this idea to have open chat was his, and moving forward, he will be the moderator to host future open chats. So let's welcome Kannan today. Kannan, hi Kannan.
Oh, hi, Wayne. Thanks for the brief introduction. Hello, everybody. My name is Kannan Chandran. I'm in the media space for a few years, about 4 decades or so. I've been from print through to the online space now. I've got a site called stormasia.com, which carries a lot of trending discussions. And as part of Storm, we've also done a lot of events, physical. Of course, with COVID hitting us, it's been a bit of a challenge, and we've taken a lot of that into the digital arena. So we've been holding a regular web chat series, which allows us to get better understanding of what's going on. Now, I felt with a community like this, what we get is the opportunity to reach out to people, to bring people into the fold and understand what's going on and what can be developed and done together, right? So the whole idea of open chat was to offer a platform for members of the Open Door community to talk about what they're doing, express their views about what's going on in the world and in their environment, in their industry, and bring others to come in and discuss other issues as well. So this is something which we will do on a regular basis, and look forward to that down the line as we nail down all the finer details. Now, the thing about COVID is, while things are opening up, we are going back out again, we are able to dine, we'll probably go back into the office. We have a new variant to worry about, and that's gonna unsettle things again. So I think you're gonna have to learn to live with the fact that COVID's here. It's here to stay for a while, and we'll have to learn to cope with it. So what does that mean to the whole idea of going back to work? Do we return to our offices, or do we reimagine work as such? I think when COVID hit, the one thing we craved, besides food and in some cases alcohol, was to communicate. We didn't have companionship. It was impossible. It was difficult. But we wanted to communicate. So it's fortunate that we have technology on our side, and that allowed us to connect with friends, family, with business partners, with our colleagues, and albeit in a different way, but we were still able to engage and talk and generate ideas and share. So meetings in offices became Zoom sessions or other platforms, but they were all virtual. And in that environment, new habits started forming, and we've had coming to 2 years of this kind of virtual experience, right? So things have changed. People have started getting very comfortable and used to the fact that they don't need to go into the office. They can do things from the comfort of their homes. They don't have to have that commute sitting in crowded buses or trains or in heavy traffic to get to the office. They don't need to get into the office at a certain time. That could be a negative thing, because then people tend to work longer hours. But these are things to consider. But I think where it also helps is that you have good infrastructure, right? So for those who didn't have very good Wi-Fi or computers, that would have been upgraded and improved. And I think generally the whole idea of strong Wi-Fi is going to be a necessity as we continue to operate in this environment. So some surveys that have come through shows that about 82% of workers want to work from home at least once a week, right? And 57% want to work from home 3 days a week. So that means people want to work from home as much as possible, maybe go in to have meetings if they need to catch up with their colleagues and maybe go and eat in a little corner coffee shop near the office, which serves the best kind of food with a group of friends. That sort of thing still quite important, right? So then the question for a lot of employers is, do we really need an office? A full-blown office with all the setup and everything? Everybody's going to be drifting in and out. So then the idea of co-working spaces, it's been around for a while now, but last year it was down by 12.9%, about 13% down in terms of utilization, but it's expected to go up by 12% by 2023. So the trend is there, right? I think more people are going to be wanting to move away from the office environment and into a co-working space. So that means people just need the convenience of a place to meet. So, there are many instances where people have had strange kind of occurrences. So I had one colleague who, from working from home, the instruction was that during office hours, your camera had to be on all the time. You couldn't turn it off. So it was kind of weird. It's like you're being watched all the time. So that was a bit unnerving, but somehow she's getting over it. There was another friend who was working from home, but has two very, very noisy children. And so every time she unmutes herself, you hear this loud noise of the kids arguing. So the work environment can sometimes be a bit challenging if you're working from home. And then when the kids are quiet, then there are jet planes taking off because her home is near the Air Force base. So it was a very, very difficult situation for her. So people like that would love to be back at home, back in the office, so that they can at least have peace and quiet and concentrate on what they've got to do. So, so there's so many things to consider when you're if you're going to continue with this work from home experience, right? There will be some people who miss their friends, their colleagues, and they'll want to go back to work. And then there's some industries where you just can't, like manufacturing, you cannot work from home. You can't bring the factory to your house. So you'll have to still go in and you'll have to do all the testing and whatnot while we have to do those things. Theaters, people still, if you want that experience, you need to go somewhere. Actors want to have a stage. Musicians want to have a place to perform. So some things, the live experience is vital. Yep. So I think in that, in all of this, what's important maybe is for everybody to consider a few things about where you are in this whole work from home environment, in this COVID environment, right? It's a good time to evaluate your situation. Yeah. So you can ask yourself, if you're an employer, your boss, you're looking around, this 2 years would have given you a good indication of your staff's strengths and weaknesses. How do they cope under these difficult situations when they're not in the office environment, when they are on their own? Are they motivated? Are they self-starters? Are they able to adapt and still deliver? Or do some fall back because they cannot cope with it? Do they need an office environment? Given a crunch situation and they've been able to deliver in an office environment, are they able to do the same when they're working from home? Because they don't have that sense of camaraderie or others, or are they dependent on the team to deliver? So, it gives you an opportunity to understand your colleagues, your employees a bit better. And I think even among team leaders and colleagues, you can also see who's able to function best in this sort of remote working situations. Part of it, the whole thing is also how the work relationships would have changed, right? Is there a need for middle management? I mean, where people who would bring things together and get it done. Now you can't do that. But if things still get done, then you ask yourself, is there a need for that position? Or can others be empowered to do more? And if they're willing to do so. You could look at which of your key staff have been able to cope with this better, come up with good solutions to issues that may have cropped up that need to be, that could bring the company forward, who has been able to bring in good projects despite the circumstances and still, keep the company going in the right direction. All these are kind of challenging, but I think it's also an opportunity for you to understand things a bit better. For employees, you can also see how the superiors react to them in this sort of situations. Do they become more demanding? Have they found it very difficult to talk to people because there is this divide, right? There's no physical proximity. So looking at the future as well for business owners, you have to ask yourself, with things like artificial intelligence, machine learning, and this whole metaverse and everything else that's coming together, is your business coping well? Is it relevant for when things open up? When in COVID, well, if and when we ever get rid of COVID, which I don't think we will, how will we cope with it? Is your business going to be relevant? Do we still need to do the things that we were doing? I think there will be some industries, a lot in the F&B, for instance, have suffered as a result of the COVID closures, and many will not resurface, but there are new ones opening up. And so obviously people see an opportunity in this. Will things become more creative because you now have to connect with people in a different way? Are we able to understand the generations? If you're an employer, you're bringing in different generations in your workplace. How are they getting along with each other? How are they coping with the new way of working? I think the digital natives will always find it very, very convenient because they are in this space. The older ones may find it a bit more difficult. But then again, are you willing to learn and keep learning and keep doing things so that you can bridge the generations? So Open Chat will cover a lot of these discussions as we start this whole series on a regular basis. The aim is to understand the environment we are working in a bit better, how we're operating, and what's the best way of doing things as we move forward. So that's just my brief take on what's been going on, what I've been observing, what I've been hearing from people. If you have questions, I'm more than happy to take them. But meanwhile, let me pass you back to Wai Ying. Thank you.
Thanks, Kanan. It's really good to hear from you. In fact, I think it's very timely that we are having these conversations because, as you know, right now we are all having the work from home directive, and ever since China News Asia and Straits Times released news that come 1st Jan, workers who have been fully vaccinated can return to the workplace. I've been feeling a bit jittery, and I've been a bit reluctant. But I think what we really need is conversation to recalibrate how we can return with not with a heavy heart, but maybe with a mindset of looking forward to things that would be better for not just for office as well, but also for the employees. So one of the things that is quite interesting was that even Apple CEO, right, when he announced they go back to work 3 days to 3 days a week, employees were actually quite upset with him. And I think what it showed was that they felt they actually said, the company has actively ignored our desire to continue with a full-time remote regimen. And the question is, maybe a question that is there really an optimal balance of the work days at home, or it's just something that maybe everybody has to kind of try and work out?
I think there are a few components of this, right? I mean, one, what kind of job you're doing. If it requires you to be at a place, like I said earlier, if you're in a manufacturing plant, you can't take the manufacturing to your home and do it there, right? Mm-hmm. You have to be at that place. So I think those are, well, no-brainers. You have to do it because that's the way it is. There could be some jobs where you could work remotely, but then you have to ask yourself, the whole idea of having a work environment is to ping ideas of each other. Now, in a remote situation, you will have your friends, you will connect with them on a regular basis, but you may neglect a whole lot of other people who could add value to your area of work, and you in return could add value to their areas of work. So there is value in bringing people together. And I think, from from 5.5 days of work to 3 days where you go in, it's a good
Value.
balance.
Yeah,
It's a
value.
good balance. Yeah.
Maybe from the office perspective, maybe from my perspective, I would actually like to work 3 days from home and 2 days in office. And if any of management is hearing me, maybe take some notes down. But before we do that, and before this becomes like a complaint session, I hear you. I think what really needs to be done is that work colleagues need to feel like they are part of a team again, and that, you know, maybe the people who need it are also like, you know, it could be new workers or people who have just joined the company. They really need that sense of camaraderie and a sense of, you know, feeling of ownership, you know, like I belong, culture, a work culture. Now, before we actually go on and do more discussion, I would actually like to bring in Irene. So we have another very interesting guest with us on this show. Irene is a member of Open Door, and she's actually also an events and MICE specialist. So Irene, I'd like you to now have some time to share with us your experience, your work experience, and also I hear you're getting very busy these days with a new project, and we want to know what is this new business venture that you're working on. So maybe let's give you some time to speak with our audience.
Thanks, Wai. So in brief, I represent a company called Ascent. Ascent many years ago was founded as a solution provider for non-profit organizations, mainly on retainer basis. In recent years, we expanded our expertise to perform asset risk management, debt consultancy, co-work spaces, not forgetting our original expertise of events management. And the next few years, we are looking to move towards the area of social enterprise, providing gainful employment, empowering individuals, and working with other like-minded businesses to build an ecosystem for profitability, empowerment, and growth. So in a short, long-term kind of perspective, that's where Ascent is headed for. So at this current moment, as what Wang has introduced, we are very privileged to partner Open Door in this new business venture. Yeah, and this is getting very busy now. Being an entrepreneur is actually very challenging, yeah, and at times it's lonely. I'm sure we all feel this for those of us who have dared to venture out of the being employed arena. So having a community like Open Door that believes in aggregating everybody's strengths and which brings real benefits to its members could and will change the landscape for all entrepreneurs. So yes, it is important, you know, we need to make business, money, you know, but it is more important, I think, to cultivate an attitude of trust, of learning, of sharing of resources, and complementing other businesses. And that's what I discovered when I took a step in through Open Door, where it is actually of creators, thinkers, and leaders. So where am I leading with all this? Now, when Kana was sharing about working from home and the whole mindset of the new norm, we have perspectives from the bosses, people who employ employees, and we have, of course, the employees themselves. There we have the dynamics of a work team, isn't it? We were discussing about working alone versus working in a team, the plus, the minuses, the environment, the way it catalyzes ideas. So where does all this fit? Yep. We also have to remember there's one more group of people that is among us, people who are actually not locals. So now with the expansion of world travel, you know, the world is getting really smaller. So through the encouragement also of IE Singapore, more SMEs are bringing businesses across borders. Okay, support on the other side of that border is critical for the establishment and growth of all businesses, whether they are small or whether they are large. So that brings me to open space. So this could be the first time you're hearing this name called open space. So what is open space all about? Basically, we actually strive to bring spaces, yeah, to all Open Door members and their respective staff. This includes people both locally and abroad. Okay, so we also have partners with us who are actually the F&B sector. And during COVID, it is not an understatement to say that they are really very badly hit. And Kanan also mentioned earlier about how many have closed, never to reopen. And sadly, actually, a few of our partners, my own partners, have permanently closed their door as well. So this weekend is the closure of one of my favorite restaurants. So, well, I spoke to them a bit and we talk about maximizing unused spaces for maximum exposure during the off-peak hours. Yeah. And in Singapore, I think for co-work, right, many people, when they're working from home, I can only address the work from home aspect. The office aspect, I'll leave it in the good hands of Kanan. So for working from home, like for myself, I hope you don't hear my daughter screaming outside because she is. Yeah, so it happens. We all know that all too well. So providing a space in between, not office. I don't want to go back office, boss. I don't want to go back office, But working at home is a challenge because my kids need the space as well. So what do? So we are looking to set a trend for working outside of home, but not in the office. So it's like the best of both worlds. And people who work in a space like that would want some minimal kind of support. So all along we have co-work spaces like Just Co, right? A few other big brands. However, because we look at aggregating businesses, we look at partnerships. So we wondered, can we actually invite F&B businesses to open up their unused spaces for open space to use? Yeah, at the same time to inculcate the culture among people working in cafes on their own. Right now it's very organic. People just come, buy a drink, and they sit down for hours to work. Can we inculcate the culture to appreciate and respect the needs of these F&B establishments, and to spare a thought that they really do need to monetize that venue that they have rented? So with all this, open space is born, and we are looking at on a large scale, not just in Singapore, but in Southeast Asia if possible, to allow people who choose to work from home a proper space to work at, to also network in, to form their own community, and at the same time, to still not fall back on their job requirements. Yeah, so let's bring back Kanan and Wai. We can pull this discussion a bit further as well.
Cool, Irene. I think that's, as I was saying earlier, you don't necessarily have to work from the office. There are good avenues where, as what you suggested, if you can find the F&B spot that is willing to accommodate groups of people having discussions, it's good for the venue as well, right? Because at least there's more activity, it's a bit more lively. And it's also good for the employees of that company that's going to this space, because it allows them to meet without having to get into the whole formal office environment. And it's also good for businesses that may not want to have a definite office space. Everybody works together and you just come together. It's a bit like co-working, but maybe a lot more easygoing, and there's food available if you want to as well, right? So yeah, that's I think there will be a lot of these sort of things. I remember once some people decided to have a meeting. They decided to do it as a jog. So they were jogging and having a discussion. So if you can do that, then certainly you can meet at a cafe and just have your meetings as well.
So I think it's a really very interesting proposition because, if you're reading, tracking the news and all, we're also seeing that real estate portfolios are in transition, and that, spaces need to be a bit more interesting with different value propositions. So a cafe is no longer a cafe. That's what you're trying to say. You're trying to say that a cafe can be a co-working space, a place for you to meet your fellow colleagues. Could it be also a place where you meet your future spouse or partner? I'm not sure. I don't know whether it's ready to be a dating site. But what do you think would be maybe, I think it's a great thing, but do you think there would be some pushbacks? Like, what would employees really think about that? Or maybe the employers, is there something that we need to change or to prepare employers for such a business, or rather for this to become like the norm?
You mean for them to work in cafe spaces?
Correct. How would I want to send a note, a memo out to my boss and all?
Okay. We actually offer the spaces via the companies. So companies are aware that there are spaces available for members to either be there on their own, or to be there individually just to work. So at the same time, in time, we will be recommending companies, right, good ways to keep track of how employees are producing at their workspace. So I think many CRM systems now are already available. And when we say work with F&B, we're not just into pushing people through their door to bring them to another marketing level, but we are talking more about also helping F&Bs themselves, to improve on their own, and to help businesses who allow their staff to use the cafe spaces to understand how work from home can be a more natural norm for them. Because obviously many bosses don't understand how work from home is possible.
So what you're trying to say is actually there may be some prerequisites for you to select and to kind of like indicate to approve that these cafes are actually conducive enough for work. Is that what you're trying to say? That this will actually be
Definitely, that's for sure. For cafes that wish to partner, they have to have a conducive environment where work is possible. So if it's a too noisy place, or if it is too hot, too warm, yeah, aesthetically, it has to be curated. I think that's just being fair to all who are going to work there. At the same time, the venues will also provide Wi-Fi and also charge points for all the devices we cannot live without, isn't it?
So there was a question, sorry.
I'm trying to look through the chat at the moment, and that we have a question from the Open Door community. Irene, can you give an example of maybe a space where you have taken in and it's an open space so that, just to give us that.
Sure. We all are aware of Tekka Place. Tekka Place is located very near Rochor MRT. But because the building has been recently reopened, many people are not aware that they exist. So they have many spaces actually, and not just on level 1, they have spaces at level 2 as well. So until I went up there, I didn't realize how beautiful the place was. So when I went up there, the location there is one of our workspaces as well. So members are able to book a venue to work at with a certain hour stipulated. So there's a start and an end time. So to also make sure you have work-life balance, don't work until too late.
I see. Yeah. So at this point, I would also like to check in if there are Open Door members in our community who are actually very keen to be part of this open space community. What do they need to do?
Yes, please get in touch with us and we'll link you up. They may need to be a site visit and hopefully a food tasting. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, we will pay you a visit for sure. Yeah. I did tell one venue owner.
You're not going to wear red shirts, yeah? Please don't come in with a red t-shirt in case we mistaken you for a different community or a different kind of ambassador.
I'm sure you know I'm going to come, so don't have to worry. Yes.
Okay.
I don't really own red shirts. You're safe.
Oh, so it's not going to be a surprise visit. You are genuinely we will make an appointment and we'll meet. Right.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah. It's for them to also understand what open space is. So in case they have queries, they can also check with us.
Can I check for members, can they find out which are the open spaces by using the app? Which are the available spaces? Can they use an app to identify that and maybe make a booking if they have to?
Sure. Okay. The moment the hosts are updated, right, we will populate that in the Open Door chat. If you open the chat now, you already see one tab called Open Space. So now we're in the process of launching the website. So doing the setting up and testing phase. Once that is ready, you will see in the Open Door app. Then we're all set to go. Yes. So we are roughly estimating about mid to end December.
Wonderful. Okay. Really excited.
Because there was a question from somebody as well asking about how people can get onto the open chat discussion. So use the app, just use the app. We are all in the app. So just reach out to us and we can take this further and see how we can develop it. Yeah, so make full use of the app. It's a great app. Use it.
Yes, that's right. I agree.
So Kanan, I think our open door members are really looking forward to the next open chat series because I think this is quite fun, just to have a discussion. And the next one, you're going to host it and you're going to moderate it, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So what should we do next other than they contacting you to say, yes, please feature me? How do members know of like the next open chat?
I think once we've locked down some of the details as to when the chats are going to take place, we will then put the word out. But I think meanwhile, what the members can do is think about areas which they feel would be useful for them and for others to find out about themselves. Look at trends. I think people want to understand what's going on in the world and what are some of these strange trends taking place. So it could be a piggyback session where we have a general discussion about a topic and we have different members joining the discussion, an opportunity to showcase what they do that is perhaps relevant to that topic of discussion as well. So in that regard, it widens the perspective of the audience and they get to understand that, oh, it's not just so persuasive. It's not meant to be a hard sell thing. It's really information sharing, knowledge sharing, and an appreciation of this strange world we are living in.
I actually see open door like the colors over here. It looks like a kaleidoscope, and I think it's really mirroring and reflecting and refracting different views, people from multidisciplinary expertise, and then coming together to find new ways, right, and new collaborative modes of operation, and that would be wonderful. So I'm afraid I have to tell you that this is all the time that we have today. Okay, we're supposed to wrap it up, and I really want to thank you for your time and for your presence at Open Chat. And next one is on you, so we'll hear from you and the Open Door app. And with this, I just want to wish everyone a good evening and have a good weekend ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you,
for having us. Take care. See you, Irene.
Take care.
Take care. Thanks, everybody out there.